Why is humor a game changer for OCD recovery? Well, there's been plenty of time where someone's been on a call to me and they're like, I don't know how much more I can take of this. This is the worst I've ever been. Nothing's working for me. My whole life's ruined. And then suddenly I make some stupid joke and they just laugh for 1 second. And that laugh just breaks that cycle. It pulls them out of the laser zoomed in focus and pulls them back to the present with, oh, fuck it, nothing matters, for 1 second. Then, along with the perspective shifts, then, along with more humor and fun and connecting with other people, and bit by bit, life comes back. If you take life too seriously, you tend to feel horrendous, right? And I can't stress this enough, right? Years and years ago, when I used to own a gym, I remember a politician came in and he was really in a bad way mental health wise. And this was long before I'd started working with mental health. And he would literally come in and he would go on and on all the time about like, Rob, don't you think it's amazing that I've just won this and I've just won that? And like, oh my God, this is going to be so amazing. Like the whole world was that. And like, one, I didn't really have the same political beliefs as him. So, and two, I found him very just focused on I, right? And the guy was in and out of mental hospitals because he could not accept not being noticed in politics. He could not accept being criticized. He had lots of problems with so many areas of his life. And it was all, at that point, when he was actually coming in, I'd started working on recovery. I'd started working on recovery myself at that point. So I did say things to him like, you know, you're holding this belief very strongly. And then he'd be like, yeah, there's just no other way. There's just no other way. And I hear that a lot from different people and stuff like that. I just need that to happen and then I'm fine. Well, no, you're not going to get what you want to happen all the time. And like, I'd put humor in and it would sort of break him out into joking and having a laugh. And he was completely calm when he was laughing. But that rigid belief he held just kept pulling him back like a sort of vicious black hole. And I see that so many areas of life, particularly with people that are desperate to be successful. I see it very much with people working in finance and a lot of young entrepreneurs, right? When I was young, I was working all the time and really wanting to be successful and worked harder than most people I met. But there was always an element of, yeah, if this doesn't work out, you know, at least, you know, I gave it my all, and so what, right? I can still have fun going to the bar tonight, going to the beach tonight, obviously, because I grew up in Spain, and things like that. And there was always that element. Like I realized, like even quite early on, like as long as you've got a night out with a beer in your hands, nice weather, you're dating with a girl or whatever. But the problem today is a lot of people don't even have that. So like if I look at like the most angry people in society, they're usually people who are very frustrated they haven't got a partner. They're usually not having a lot of sex. They're usually not socializing a lot. They're usually spending loads of time online, and they're very isolated. Like, there's certain things, like when you're doing them, you're not angry when doing them. Like, let me give you some examples, right? If you're in a spa and you're in like a hot plunge, right? And then in a cold plunge or whatever, and then in a steam room and a sauna. Like, how many people do you meet that are like angry in a steam room or sauna? You don't, because the environment is like forcing the body to relax. It's like, how many people are like yelling their head off having a massage? Not really, because again, the body is being forced to relax. When do you see people the angriest? When they are confronted about some belief that they hold rigidly and they're already really frustrated and not liking their life. People are like, when I think of like friends throughout life, the ones that I've had arguments with during my life, it's always been people that are like not really doing well, not happy with life, and like just genuinely frustrated and just wanting to sort of like cause a confrontation. Like in life, I'm never looking for confrontation. I don't care for any arguments. I don't care for any fallings out. None of it. I have no interest. It just ruins the quality of the moment. Like I was just saying there, if you're in a sauna or you're in a steam room, whatever, you're happy, right? You tend to be happy. If you've got a cocktail and you're with your friends having a laugh, you tend to not want to get in a fight. If you're having a beer in the garden with your parents and having a barbecue, well, parents can be a very high risk volatility with anger because they obviously they push your buttons because they're the ones who installed them. So you have to be very aware of how you shape your life to be a life that encourages a good quality of happiness in your life. Like my day-to-day life structure, look, I'm not going to say in this for some kind of like sort of like hustle culture points. Every day that I do, because we're on a mission with what the work we do with OCD, it's pretty long days, right? And there's no, oh, I'm feeling like this, I'll change my day like that. I just get on with it and get the job done. And then in the end of the day, I think when I sit down for dinner, that was good. We got those things accomplished. But in the day, the shaping of the day, I'm trying to make the environment sort of work for me, right? In the sense of like going out for long walks. Yesterday I did 25,000 steps and I went for a workout. And 25,000 is quite a lot. I did some of it on a treadmill and then some of it on the street. And when I do that, it's like putting myself in an environment that's for like really going for life, right? A really sort of winning at life attitude. That's where I want to be in a mindset, right? So around me throughout the day, I make sure there's good food that I enjoy, it's healthy. I work out a lot, so it keeps me in that sort of go ahead mindset. I make sure that the activities and the things that I want to do are just put in the day where they need to be done. And like if I look at like month upon month and I like look back at the months, I think like, yeah, most of the boxes are ticked, right? General health overall, there's barely any problems with health. Because I'm doing a lot of maintenance, aren't I, in terms of all the fitness, looking after myself and stuff like that. Whenever I'm somewhere that's wherever I'm somewhere that's like really cold and I can't go outside, I'm making sure to like run on a treadmill inside and stuff like that, so that you're just constantly doing the maintenance, because I'd rather do the maintenance that's frustrating than the long periods of nothing, which then lead to feeling shit. Like people often say like, oh yeah, if I was to retire, I would just love to like just chill out more, like lay in the garden and watch TV. I would fucking hate that, because that leads to the bad shape, the feeling lethargic. Like you don't feel winning at life just sitting there with like chips on your stomach, watching Netflix shows. You do not. Like I went through. Well, let me put it like this. I stopped watching Netflix shows and TV probably about 9 months ago, and I can count about 5 films that I've seen since 9 months ago. Maybe like 8 films, and I love films, but I just noticed there was so much of a trap. Like I just did not want to look back at my life and think, oh yeah, like a large part of this year was watching Netflix shows. Now I understand when people work very long days, last thing they want to do is do some other productive task. But like, if you want to really shape the life that you want, you're going to have to shape this. Yeah, because reality, most people are like, lives are just a sort of coasted life where they're like, yeah, I suppose it's good enough. And I also understand how hard it is to just maintain a life that's just ticking over. To get married, for example, to have kids, to both of you to have jobs and raise a family is hard, right? But people tend to still want more than that. And if you want more than that, you're going to have to shape your life. And that more can be anything you want it to be. It can be more where you're in really good shape. It can be more where you're painting a lot. It can be more where you're building a business on the side. It can be more where you're getting really involved in your kid's life and like making it even better. Like I see so many people, like, I mean, obviously I'm in the work that involves this, but like, when I look at all these people that come in that are in couples, and then I'm like, so how often are you guys intimate together? And they're like, once or twice a month. What do you do in the evenings? Oh, we see each other for 20 minutes, then we both watch our own shows on Netflix, so there's no arguments. Like, there is no energy in that relationship at all. Like, somebody's going to cheat when, as soon as excitement comes up, both of you are like completely detached. That is not a life that I personally want at all. Like, I'm currently dating someone, and I, of course, like spending a lot of time on my own too, and she's aware of that, right? But at the same time, like if I'm not putting energy into that, and I put a lot of energy into that, and so does she. If I didn't, what's the point of even being in it? Because if I look at like the trade-off, right, of being single versus being in a relationship, I want that relationship to be wow, right? It's not gonna be wow all the time, but I want to make a great deal at it because I've got one life, and I want life to be like that. I don't want to look any regrets. I want to just go for it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Oh, life is there's some mistakes, or just bland forever. Now, I've got no problem with bland. That can be an OCD fear. People are like, oh my god, I just don't want bland life. But the people who tend to often say that, like, I don't want bland life, often are in a bland life because they're so scared of a bland life. They're not putting in much input because they're procrastinating so much. And so to really build that life, you've got to really take it out there. And like with relationships, it's like that. Like, I had one good friend who used to live down the road. He was one of my best friends. His dad was quite a wild character. He was always setting up different businesses, and but he was always a fun dad, like a super fun dad. Like, he was bringing home a new motorbike, new car, new sports, taking his kids to do all different kind of wild adventures that they were thinking of as a family. And like, this guy was so plugged into life. And like, bear in mind, I grew up in Spain, and like, I lived not far from the beach. And like, I remember one day, I was about 9, he'd just come home with like a new motorbike and like be like the dad and be like, Robert, you want to go on the beach on this? I just bought this new off-road bike. Of course, at 9, I was like, yeah, let's go. And then he just put me on the back, drive down the beach at a ridiculous pace, and I'd think, this is really exciting, right? Now, loads of those things, like if you took now, I know that people can't just live anywhere they want because of work restrictions, but like in life, really, if you want to make like quite a fun day, yeah, a lot of those fun days growing up cost very little money at all. Like me just going in the sea with like a makeshift what's it called? Oh shit, I've forgotten the name of it. And then when you've forgotten the name of something, good point for OCD, then you chase for the name of it, and then you definitely forget it. A spear gun, like I'd sort of like make a spear gun that didn't work and go in the sea trying to catch fish because the other people in the area, they would be catching fish in the sea with a real spear gun. And I kept saying to my mum, my dream is to have a spear gun. She'd never give one to me because she knew that I'd have an accident. But like those people that were like, when we used to go to like very hippie beaches in Spain, which were like just sand dunes and just like very, very relaxed environment with people surfing and stuff like that. And you used to go there, like, and you look at like, okay, there's different lives, right, that are going on all in one sphere. You've got the fishermen that are out at sea, getting up very early and fishing and working very, very hard to get the fish in and bring it in. And then they're selling it to the restaurant. And then you've got the people eating the fish on the beach. So young people would be like having a sandwich with some fish in it, with a beer on the beach as the sun was setting, right? Doesn't cost a whole lot. And life feels good. Suntan, swimming in the ocean, having a laugh with friends, probably having, well, I was young, remember, I was only young, so I wasn't growing up in that culture of like when I was a teenager, or because I'd moved by then, of like that kind of environment. But like realistically, they're having a beer, a sandwich on the beach, having sex with a partner, and probably living in an apartment not far away from there and doing a job, whatever the job is. But that part of the fun side is stuff that doesn't cost a huge amount. Now, the fisherman is working very hard, but I also saw the lives of the fishermen, because the fisherman then would be in the village in this sort of tapas bar, and he'd often be like playing dominoes with friends, having a beer or something after all those shifts had finished, right, in between time. But if I looked at how happy that guy was who's getting up at some ridiculous time in the morning to go fishing, compared to some of the young hustle culture people that I see that have completely boxed their life in with no pleasure. Like, I see that all the time. I was in a restaurant the other day and a guy heard him on like another table, it was a couple of months ago actually, and he was sort of saying like, yeah, I live in this small flat just on an air mattress, and I just like work all day and just eat pasta out of the bag. Like, if you want to be big, you've got to like sacrifice. And he was on a date as well, and she was thinking, fuck this, like, I don't want that in the relationship. But like, yeah, you've got to sacrifice, but like completely torturing yourself and cutting out all opportunities of fun is never a good idea, ever. My dad always used to say that to me. Like when I used to work really hard when I was young, he was like, you still go out and have a drink and still go out and date and stuff like that, because you don't get this time back. And like, you don't make that much sacrifice, because people forget the word sacrifice means getting rid of something, right? You're losing something, yeah? You're losing time. It's like what do Olympic athletes always say? They say, yeah, but I didn't get to go out and party like all the other young people. I missed all of that. So this is my like massive moment now. So when people are like, oh, I want that massive moment, you've got to remember I lost all the other moments. And I can see that's what happens. Like in my own life, there's been a lot of sacrifice. Like if you were to look at my life, there's been a lot of sacrifice, right? And some of that, do I think would have been better to use that time differently? Yeah, I do think that. But overall, I'm very happy with how life is now, right? But life comes with sacrifice. There's going to be a lot of that in your life. But don't forget to have a laugh along the way and enjoy things because it's a short ride. You've got to give it the best shaping you can to get the life you want. But at the same time, be very realistic about enjoying the moment too, which you're not going to be able to do all the time, but you're going to have to do a lot more of it because if you just get into this hustle culture and social media way of life, they'll have you believe that that you should just be in a room making money all day long until you can then live the life like you want. This is what the young kids often come in and say to me, and they're like, yo, bro, I saw this video. He's like, no, yeah, it doesn't matter. Just sacrifice if you want this, that. Yeah, of course, that's what makes it appeal. That's what makes the army appeal to young people because they think of impressing their family, but they don't factor in at that young age of the high probability of death. And or even with the high probability of death, they still view it differently because of the young risk taking that's going on in the genes and mindset. So you've got to factor in all these things. Enjoy the ride. Have a laugh along the way. Shape the life you want. No one else is going to shape it for you. And life goes quick, and then you can be looking back very quickly at, God, this has been a bit bland. So you can change that. Nothing wrong with bland too. You might have had a very hard life. I remember when I had very bad OCD and then life was a bit bland at times. I was grateful for the bland because I just didn't want the lows. And all of you can relate to that very much too when you're suffering with OCD. I was very grateful just to sit in a bath, very grateful just to go for a walk and not be anxious. And a large part of time after recovery was thinking very much like that. And I still do think like that. Like, hey, today, this is because I'm always taking it back to the base level. I don't need the wow. I'm very content with, hey, could I just have a beer? Could I just have a lunch and not be anxious? Yes, I'm very grateful for that. I haven't been anxious, chronically anxious for a very long time now, but I'm still grateful today of that. But I have to remind myself at times because we forget that.